Now, in a move reflecting ongoing economic challenges, Glovo, a major food delivery company in Africa, has announced plans to cease operations in Ghana by May 10, 2024. Citing profitability concerns and a reevaluation of investment priorities, the Spanish firm's departure will impact local employment and Ghana's GDP. Now, this decision aligns with the broader trend of multinational companies relocating from Ghana due to factors such as high borrowing costs, heavy taxation, inflation, and currency depreciation. The move underscores the urgent need for economic reforms to sustain investor confidence and stimulate growth. To discuss this, I'm joined by financial analyst and investment advisor Patrick Abankwa. He joins us from Accra, Ghana. Hello, Patrick. Thank you for joining me at this time.
Thank you for having me on your show.
All right. So what specific economic challenges are driving multinational firms such as Glovo to exit Ghana?
There are a number of factors that are playing in terms of some companies, especially multinationals, deciding to relocate some of them, their production site, and others, their whole business out of the country. The first that has to do with inflation. Now, last year, Ghana's inflation rose up as high as 54% within a period. Even though this year it has dropped to around 26%, inflation is also quite high if you compare Ghana with other neighboring countries who are, experiencing inflation in the region of about 15 and 16. So that is a major factor that is affecting the multinationals from relocating. The other thing has to do with exchange rates. Ghana's CD has been depreciating against major currencies, especially the dollar, over the last even 5 months of this year, coupled with the depreciation that we experienced last year. So beyond inflation and also exchange rates, the next thing has to do with taxation. Government, because of the IMF program, had to impose a lot of taxes right from the port to company taxes, increasing them along the line. And some of these taxes, as they go up, they have major impact on the bottom line of these multinational companies. And if you are someone who follows multinationals, they only look at the bottom line. If the bottom line is not favorable and they can get other options from neighboring countries or other markets, quickly they will jump off. And that is the major cause of why some of these multinational companies are moving out of the country, and especially the latest one that we have seen with Glovo.
All right, Patrick. Now, what measures have these multinational firms, identified as essential for sustaining profitability in Ghana, since it's one of the challenges they're facing?
I think the major factor that they have seen that is affecting their profitability will have to do with taxation and exchange rate. Now, we usually see Ghana's CD against the dollar being stable for a while. But whenever you have the CD depreciating very fast against the dollar, what it means is that even if they are making so much profit, which will be in the local currency, once they convert these CDs into dollars or pounds and repatriate to their home country, these monies are not enough to be able to cover their expectations in terms of the global expectations for the market that they find in. So you realize that you are producing more, you are getting more CDs, but when you convert as against other markets, you are not be able to repatriate enough profit to the home country. That's the first thing. The second thing has to do with the increased taxation and economic condition not being favorable. So let's say a company like Glovo, who is into the distribution of food, if people's purchasing power goes down because the economic conditions are not that impressive, immediately it affects sales. And once it affects sales for a prolonged period of time, the stock value of that company also goes down. So for multinational, these are the challenges that they face. You, within your space, you may try to increase prices of the things that you sell, but as you increase, if the purchasing power of the consumer is also not increased to be able to meet your market, you find out that sales will continue to depreciate. And over a period of time, there's little that you can do as a multinational company. The best is that you have to relocate to another market.
All right, so now what about elevated inflation? How does this affect the operational viability of multinational companies in Ghana?
Yes, so because most of these multinational companies, sometimes they have inputs coming in from outside the country. when inflation goes up, the cost of bringing the items becomes a bit expensive. And over a period of time, that also impacts on cost of production. And the cost of production here is not just the item that you are bringing on board, but also people that are working for you. So the inflation that is, going up and down, either local inflation or imported inflation, all together has a direct impact on the bottom line of multinational companies. And the sad aspect is that as they begin to relocate, it leads to more situation of unemployment, especially among the teeming youth. And we find out the number of people that Glovo has employed, that's about thousands of Ghanaians. And all of these people are going to be unemployed because inflation issues that the government is supposed to tackle has not been that successful over the last 2 years or so.
Okay. So just before we let you go, Patrick, how significant is the impact of high borrowing costs on businesses operating in Ghana?
Cost of borrowing or loans is quite a difficult challenge for most of the business in Ghana, not just even multinational, but even the local companies. Currently, when you look at the market, we have an average of about 38% on loans for businesses. When you strike it as against other countries, we have other countries having cost of borrowing for industry around 15%, 12%, some even 8%. So if I'm competing with another company who is in another country and they are enjoying cost of borrowing of about 8%, whilst I'm paying about 38%, well, first of all, I can't compete on that level. It eats up their profit level. At the same time, these businesses also want to expand. So until we get to a point where we're able to tame down and bring cost of borrowing in this country, things, one, will be high in terms of inflation, and two, these businesses will not be able to compete with their neighboring countries and also institutions that have low cost of borrowing from their home country. So, for example, if you're a company in Ghana and you are competing with a company from, let's say, Asia, who have interest rate of about 5%, as against you borrowing at 38%, obviously you can't compete on the issue of pricing. And once you can't compete on pricing, you begin to lose out on customers. And eventually, your business model will not be working and be seen as being viable and profitable over the long period of time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me and speaking on this.